Well, to get more insight into the significance of the Hungary vote, I spoke with Izza Leghtas. She's a senior advocate for Refugees International. I began by asking her for her reaction to the referendum results.
The fact that they even had a referendum on this issue is extremely worrying and alarming, especially when we see the messages that have been circulated by the government at a huge cost to the Hungarian taxpayer in a campaign that really vilified refugees and demonized them and associated them with terrorists, with criminals, when in fact this whole plan is aimed to relieve countries like Greece and Italy that have really been bearing most of the burden of all these people arriving seeking protection to Europe, and so it's worrying on many levels. Yeah.
Now, we know that Juncker recently called for more unity within the EU on this issue. So then what does this recent decision mean then in terms of unity for the region?
There's been a huge divide in Europe. I mean, there have been divides in Europe on many issues, but the refugee issue is one of them. And what we have to bear in mind is that this is not an unmanageable situation for Europe. Hungary, for example, the number that was presented by the European Commission in terms of people that Hungary would take from Greece and Italy and process their asylum claims. So the idea wasn't to bring people and force them onto Hungary and have to settle them there at any cost. It was people who would want to claim asylum, go to Hungary, lodge their claim. If they have a well-founded claim for protection, then give them asylum. We're talking about less than 1,300 people here. Not an unmanageable number by any stretch. So it's really it's a very politicized debate at the moment, basically with a lot of hostility.
So if you're the EU, from their perspective, what are they seeing as then the advantages of having these quota systems?
Well, the idea really, so the European Commission a year ago, last September, decided to propose a plan to the European Union countries to share basically the responsibility for all these people who are arriving daily on the shores of Greece and Italy. Greece at the moment has about 60,000 people completely stuck in overcrowded, unsanitary camps. And so the idea was really to say to other European Union countries, look, it's not just because Greece and Italy are on the shores of the Mediterranean that they should be left to deal with this on their own. So let's have a system whereby there's a sharing. It depends on the size of the country, on what their economic situation is, etc. So the idea was to relocate 160,000 people over 2 years. So there's another year now. Out of 160,000, only about 5,000 have actually been relocated. And again, when I say relocated, it's a process to allow them to go and file their asylum claim. And so what's happened is that countries have been dragging their feet, some of them completely refusing to even participate. And so we have this crisis now that's, to be honest, unworthy of the European Union.
As you mentioned, people tend to forget that this is a human crisis. We're looking for that common humanity. But in some cases, it's really the money that talks. So what about economically, in terms of some of the opportunities that perhaps could be a tipping point that would really be a wake-up call for countries to realize perhaps we need to do more?
I mean, we're talking about people who, many of them had their careers in their own country, have skills, have studied, and are really eager to contribute to the country where they're going. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people who say, I want to work, I want to contribute, I don't want to just take charity just like that. And so that if you offer people the possibilities, if you offer education to their children and give them an opportunity to settle in, to find safety and to work and use their skills, everyone can benefit. But no one is benefiting from having people living in these squalid conditions. It's shameful, really.
And do you think perhaps then it could be an opportunity then for some industries, perhaps in the health and education sector, to really step in and make a difference and try and bridge that gap?
Yeah, if people are trained, given language classes, and I mean, some people already speak the languages. This is also why some people have preferences. So we'll try and go to an English-speaking country if they already speak English, or people have relatives. I mean, obviously, a lot of people want to go to Germany because they have relatives there. But if people are properly integrated and given the opportunity, they will make a meaningful contribution.